But you guys know me, I see these things as opportunities. I'm interested in making money out of this market, and when shit like this happens, I actually get fired up because I know from 7+ years of trading in these markets that this is where the money gets made. And before we really start off with where I think Bitcoin can go, and I do think that we're kind of still poised for the downside, but I'll explain in depth why and the other sides in just a minute. I do want to kind of just come back to that analogy I just gave you of, Bitcoin kind of forming that staircase to hell in this particular example. And, if you haven't already been subscribed or hitting up that like button to show YouTube that you love this content, you might not have seen my content where I've been pointing out that Bitcoin has already been kind of fulfilling this kind of pattern the whole way down, right? We kind of make a move down, fight it a little bit, make the move down, fight it. Sometimes it happens really small, sometimes it's a little bit bigger. They come in various different shapes and sizes, and we had many, many more on the way down here. But this is all to say that this is, patterns that we've seen, ad nauseum recently. I mean, just absolutely all over the place. And it just makes total sense now that Bitcoin is doing the same thing on a kind of larger time frame now, again, with this kind of triangle that I've started to draw for you guys here, because it's already Bitcoin's kind of body language in this market, and that just makes things so easy for us. We don't have to try and guess and reinvent the wheel and stuff like that, which I think is super, super cool. So we've got a couple of very clear invalidations on here as well. And the other thing to kind of look at now is when you do form these patterns, one of the very easy ways to kind of extrapolate a target is just to kind of measure the flagpole and then use that to extrapolate a target to the downside. And this time it looks absolutely beautiful because we do have support down here in the $44,000 price area. Now, I really have to preface all of this by, first continuing on with looking at the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, because, today we're at a reading of 27. It's just updated about half an hour ago. Yesterday was 28. The day before that, we've been in extreme fear now for, what is this, 5th of July? It's like the 4th day in a row now or something like that, 3rd day in a row. We've just been living in extreme fear. So, we've got to take this with a pinch of salt. From a sentiment perspective, this thing has to correct to some extent. And I also just really you're going to hear a bit of bearish analysis from me in the next few minutes. And, typically, if you're watching my channel, you're not stupid. So you're going to be able to understand that I'm actually weighing up both sides. And I'm super happy to trade both sides. I'm still making money off the long side anyway. But, what you'll also kind of understand in the next few minutes is that it's kind of hard to still take a bearish perspective on this market. When you lose an important level like $60,000, but you're still up by more than 3x, more than 2x from your lows. Yeah, we're still up by more than 3x, if I'm not mistaken, from our lows at $15,000. It's hard to be scared of what of what could happen in the market, and you really understand why if you're not already feeling that throughout this video. Definitely smash up the likes if you are excited for that. But Fear and Greed Index kind of dropping down to such low levels. I like I said, it's been 7+ years I've been in this game. I don't really get surprised by stuff anymore. A lot of this shit becomes predictable, and this is definitely one of them. I think the flagpole extension is very interesting because it does put us down in this $44,000 price area, and everybody's kind of got their eyes on this particular 51, 52K price area because it's an important one. But I think one of the things that you really do expect is when you've been coiling up for so long, and this was a 4-month consolidation here, 120 days, you do have to expect that the breakout is going to last a while, right? Over here, we were kind of coiling up for 220 days. So this was about 7 months here. And then the upward price action actually had continued for pretty much 5 months straight, right? So I'm not saying that we're getting 5 months of downside here. I really don't think that's the case. But what I am saying is that, to me, it doesn't make sense that this resolves quickly or that it resolves shallowly, if that's a word. I don't think it's going to be a shallow resolution either. I think it's probably going to be something that lasts a little bit longer. And that's just classical technical analysis, right? This is just super just normal technical analysis, exactly what you would learn in the books. It's nothing special, it's nothing crazy, it's nothing excited, bullish, scared, conservative. It's just normal. And oftentimes, ladies and gents, being in that kind of normal middle ground actually serves you best. At least in my experience, it serves me best, and it served the many of the people that I've kind of worked with in this market best as well. So I think that's important. And it just makes complete sense to me that we kind of blast through 52K, 51K. I was kind of bullish on it before, and I still think we can get a bounce off there. I just don't think it would be potentially a long-term one, but to see that kind of flagpole taking us there, I think really says a lot. Of course, if we zoom in here, Like I said, we do have a couple of invalidations here though, which are definitely quite interesting, because one of the beauties of kind of coiling up like this is that it becomes very easy to get bullish. The kind of key level that you have to break keeps on getting lower. Of course, the same thing happens to the downside as well, and we are generally poised to drop down because we're doing this, we're forming this pattern in a downtrend, so that's important to keep in mind. But if we do end up kind of sweeping any of these lows right here at like $58,000, I think it's going to be a pretty easy ride for Bitcoin back up to that $60,000 price range, because we've already known that this is a range that doesn't really have a lot of liquidity, right? I mean, if we go ahead and take a fixed range volume profile throughout this entire range, there is notoriously little volume throughout this entire range here. I mean, basically the value area low being punched in right here, and the next spike coming in right here on this particular red line. I've actually pretty much already got a red line drawn there, so I can just go ahead and thicken this line to show you that this is where that next kind of spike comes in on the VPVR, and then there's really nothing until $60,000, $61,000 up here. So I think that really tells us a lot that, like, this is a range where price resolutions do happen quickly. However, if we do kind of move above any of these highs, then I would be expecting the highs up here. I think that one of the key things I was talking about is that the longer it takes for Bitcoin to get back up there, the worse things are going to be, in my opinion, and I still believe that to be the case. By the way, I want you to keep in mind that Bitcoin could definitely also be forming a kind of ascending triangle that looks a little bit like this. I don't want you to kind of rule that out, so we can talk about that a little bit more in these videos as well. But one of the key things I was saying is that, look, I mean, the longer it takes for Bitcoin to get up here, the more we're going to be encountering resistance, right? I mean, if Bitcoin starts to move up now, it's just going to have so much resistance up here, which is just such a shame. And it's not just on this time frame. If we zoom out onto the daily, we've now developed daily Ichimoku resistance at this $61,000 price level going into early August. So this could be a problem if we kind of mess around and really take our time to trend up. But that'd actually be one of the best things that we could do, because if we really take our time to trend up there and then kind of move down, yes, while I still think that 44k is very, very possible, there's just a big element of time grinding people down, and to me, that is really going to shake a lot of hands out. And I would expect that, as the market kind of quietens down in that kind of period, if it were to happen, we would start to see ETF buying really ramp up, right? We'd start to see real money start to really buy into this market. So just keep an eye on that, because, you're realistic like me. You understand the same as I do that, the rich people always win. The big money, the established money always wins. It's always more patient than, new basement money that's, jumping from fucking GameStop to XRP to Bitcoin and so on, right? Like, you understand that. We get it. We both understand, and so this just kind of makes sense, and so the more the better really for this market, as far as I'm considering, because once those people do start loading up, whether you like it or not, that is going to be the real start of this bull market, in my opinion. But like I said, up here, definitely a bit of resistance mounting, and it's from a couple different perspectives, right? I mean, we've also got this daily EMA resistance here, which I do think is problematic for Bitcoin, and it's been pretty good as support for Bitcoin, so I kind of have to expect it to be useful as resistance. Already has been very, very useful as resistance for Bitcoin right here. And so I think that could be a bit of a problem for Bitcoin to encounter in terms of finding a bit of resistance up ahead. And it's also, of course, a very, very important kind of macro support level on this chart now, pretty much. I mean, we did kind of fake out below it and then recover back above. But now, I mean, there have been so many tests of this level, and, not only have we kind of, closed like a good, I mean, how many candles have we closed here? Like, yeah, 5-6 candles we've closed below here now. We've also had the weekly close, which we didn't have last time. I mean, last time we were here, nay, Ghost. Last time we were here, we closed our weekly candle much higher. What do you want, sir? Can you guys see my dog? Nearly, Ghost. Nah, he's too short. We did nearly have, Bitcoin closing higher. However, I'm sorry, we did nearly have kind of Bitcoin closing down here, but it did recover very, very beautifully, which was absolutely great. But this time we don't have that, right? And so this is, from a couple different perspectives here, worse than what we saw before. And I really need you guys to kind of keep that in mind so we can maintain as close to objectivity as we can get to, and obviously that means that, yeah, there's a much higher risk of resistance up ahead now if Bitcoin were to get there, which to me just kind of reinforces that Bitcoin may have to get lower before it ends up getting higher in this market. But in terms of what that translates to, like I said, I mean, easy kind of day trade opportunities coming up over here. These are the kind of trades where if you're getting free money on exchanges like Blowfin, like I was mentioning earlier, then, you are winning. You are in a very, very good position, because, it's not the ideal trade, but if you got free money coming in from an exchange, then who the fuck cares? It's not your money. You can throw it anywhere you like. And if you make profits, then great, withdraw them. And if you don't make profits, then doesn't matter. You never had the money in the first place. You know, so I think that's super, super cool. And, you know, that's how I would treat it. I wouldn't treat it as anything more than that. I don't think that these are, you know, particularly kind of special positions down at levels like 52K. I'm not desperate to trade. I don't have to kind of get into the market because I'm trigger happy or anything like that. So it's not something that I'd be super interested in. But if we do get lower, I think it's just hard not to be bullish at these kind of price levels because of how strong that macro support is going to be, you know, and of course if that kind of comes after a rejection, that would also be huge. However, for the bulls, in order to kind of turn this thing around, and like I said, I mean, the fear and greed index is just shot right now. You know, for the bulls to kind of turn this around, all we have to do is get above the $60,000 price area. So like I said, lots of potential for resistance up here now, a really, really dangerous zone for Bitcoin. And, you know, like I said, the longer it takes to get there, the worse it's going to be for Bitcoin as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not liking this. I'm not optimistic about it at all. However, if we are able to flip above this level and kind of somehow get here, trade above it, hit 64, come back down for a back test and then continue, that would be very, very bullish because it would then mean that this is yet another fake out. Again, you know, how often do we get 2 fake outs and then we kind of move up? Very, very rare. I mean, it's just not something that I'm going to expect. It's not something that I'm going to kind of call for. However, I would love to see it. I know you would love to see it as well. It would make no fucking sense. But, you know, it would be very, very fun for us if we are able to see kind of Bitcoin recovering back above this range. But it also looks like, you know, alts have been getting smashed pretty hard. I mean, we have seen Bitcoin's dominance just kind of equal out a little bit. And I don't know how much of that is money moving back into Ethereum, for example, and some other bits, but we are generally seeing that altcoins, especially like kind of meme coins and stuff like that, have continued to get absolutely smashed. We'll come back to those in just a minute here because I do want to keep focused on Bitcoin just for this particular video, you know, and I think that with all of those kind of factors in mind, it's hard for me to find the bullish stance in this market right now. I mean, I see things like the fear and greed index, and this definitely tells me like this has to reset. But at the same time, we're trading in a symmetrical triangle, and we've got a couple of highs that we need to break before we can start to kind of move higher. So, you know, I don't actually think it's that simple. I don't think it's that clear cut. Ghost, Laney, down. Good boy. Nate, down. Good boy. It's getting a little bit distracting. You know, so I think there are a couple kind of really important levels that this market needs to kind of overcome before we can start getting bullish again. And I think just because of the body language, like it is still kind of poised to drop down based off this. So that is something I'm going to continue to keep an eye out for and continue to give you updates on. So a little bit of macro, a little bit of smaller time frame analysis as well for you guys. I really hope you have enjoyed this one. If you have, you know what to do. Check out this amazing offer from Blowfin, linked down below in the description. Like I said, when you start trading and signing up using this link below, they don't even require KYC. You have huge bonuses available to you. They've extended the current campaign, and regardless of what you deposit up to $7,500, you are going to be getting 15% cash back to trade with, which is huge. It's just a straight guaranteed extra bit of money that you get when the campaign ends, you know, that you can trade with. You can throw that money back into the market in any way you like, and any profits are yours to withdraw. So amazing offer. It's a huge amount of money. Definitely take advantage of it if you think that extra firepower would be useful for you in your trading game. With that, ladies and gents, I'm going to be signing off for this one. You know what to do. Hit up the like, subscribe, click the bell, all the good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.